नमस्कार दोस्तों और जय हिंद। आप सभी को स्वागत है इन माय चैनल 1971 वॉर बुक सीरीज। तो दोस्तों आज हम फिर से बात करने वाले हैं विद मेजर जनरल बिकाश मोहांती who served in the 1971 war as captain from the Armed Forces Medical Corps. Yes, he was very much instrumental in providing medical support to the refugees who came from East Pakistan to India during the 1971 war to escape from Pakistani military occupation and suppression of human rights. He was very much dedicated in his work in helping the refugees alongside providing them vaccines, using jet injectors, and talking about the famous use of the ORS, yes, the oral rehydration system that was very well equipped by Indian doctors for this specific refugee crisis itself. So let's welcome Major General Bikash Mohanti to talk about specifically the Indian Armed Forces role in dealing with the refugee crisis in the 1971 war in the West Bengal border, specifically in the border towns, in the refugee camps itself.
So today, sir, my aim of discussing with you specifically regarding the 1971 Bangladesh war is the work that you did as a medical corps officer of the Indian Army in helping out the refugees.
Yeah, that's what we discussed. I will. I try to, as much as I remember, I'll try to recollect them. Which in last few days I tried to recollect. I just tried to note it down. Because the dates and all are I'm not very confident about dates in terms of months and all. As you know, it started off. The refugees started pouring in. All across the Indo-Pakistan border those days.
Right.
And the surge started sometimes in May onwards.
Okay.
And other than, because I was posted with 309 Field Hospital, which was non-functional, but they started functioning at Bongaon.
Okay.
So at that time, we are at the AMC, and was not short at that time. Nor our plan, anything in the medical plan for the division, at provision for refugee care. Care of rehabilitation and care of refugees.
Okay.
So because that was a part of civil responsibility.
Right.
Okay. So suddenly when this the exodus of refugees was so much, they had to fall back because the state administration had no clue about handling this. Because whenever earlier also, there have been riots in so-called in East Pakistan, and there have been refugee influx.
But not so much. But not so much.
Yeah, not 10 millions. Okay. So at that time, because we could not, the medicals those days could not grab any resources or resources from one place to other. They had to manage within their own divisional resources, because the new corps which had come up had no hospital integral to that formation. So they had to depend on all these things, peacetime hospitals, like base hospital, Barakpur, command hospital. At that side you had MS Silchar, Silchar, and there are not many military hospitals in northeastern theatre. So at that time, like this field hospital, since it was not functioning, I was asked, my ADMS asked any of the doctors, if you can speak Bengali, then you will be detailed for this team. So since he knew that I could at least understand Bengali, so he said, Mohanti, tum jao. So I had a team, with Yes, every day we used to get some kind of a used to come requirement is to come to the formation headquarter, like a brigade headquarter, 42 brigade headquarter. They were responsible for something.
Okay.
So they used to ask that so and so camp send so many nursing assistants and a doctor.
Okay, this was all done by the army, like arranging for these
No,
assistants.
no, no. They require. You see, I'm now I'm 100% sure
Hmm.
that there was no coordination between military, I mean civil medical teams and army's organization. There are
Okay.
absolutely no. I mean, I'll tell you how things. I mean, how people will never know.
Hmm.
Because there are certain very interesting things which I tell you, the whole country doesn't know when the whole world knew about it.
Acha, acha.
This happened during the 71 war. In my talk today, I'll tell you. You see, basically, that this influx of refugees, which is, and we are responsible only for the West Bengal. I don't know what was happening on the other side, like Tripura, yeah,
Meghalaya, these places.
Meghalaya, Tripura, and all these things.
Right, right.
Because the main influx was to this side, to West Bengal.
Hmm.
So at that time, West Bengal, the government of India, the entire year, because we didn't get any foreign assistance at that time.
Okay. I mean,
Initially,
in May. May.
By June, you had to manage with our own resources, means civil resources.
Okay.
So army was called in by the civil people, that civil doctors, that can you send teams for the vaccine, for inoculation and vaccination.
Okay.
Because the resources, you can imagine 10 million
Hmm.
coming into that West Bengal side. West Bengal side must be about 5 to 6 million minimum.
Minimum. Yeah.
Okay. So, and there are no resources. As it is, the civil resources are very meager.
Meager.
So, when you didn't have this, and along with the medical issues, the main problem which was there was communication, because the monsoon had started,
Hmm.
and then absolute refugee camps was filled up chock-a-block. Absolutely no place. And then humid condition.
Hmm.
So that is the mostly skin diseases which were there, which are being treated. Because once there used to be, although there used to be some food supply and some water supply, but it was grossly inadequate and not fully nutritional. I mean, nutritionally, nothing was good was being given. So then gradually, what happened when we started, we used to go first. We used to go to a camp,
Hmm.
then have our carry all our infrastructure, sterilization equipments, and all these things. They used to hand over the vaccines.
Acha. What were these vaccines, sir?
These vaccines were basically TABC, typhoid A, B, and cholera.
Okay. Okay.
That is the only vaccine which is required in these types of
Areas. Clustered
in these
areas.
type of condition,
Hmm.
when you cannot ensure good hygiene and sanitation.
Hmm.
Waterborne diseases are most common, and that is why these vaccines were given.
Right, sir.
Yeah, waterborne diseases, these vaccines, we had, it was very difficult to get adequate number,
Hmm.
because you see, I don't think no one ever imagined that they will require million doses of
Million
TABC.
doses.
So
Okay.
anyhow, that was army was not responsible to procure it, but we are getting it. So we used to mainly go and start immunization camp.
Acha.
There used to find lot of people malnutrition 80 to 90%,
Okay.
and mostly females and children
Acha, acha.
and old people.
Okay.
Not many middle-aged group and young youth were there.
Mm-hmm.
They were perhaps that Mukti Bahini and all these things. So whatever this is the mix of the age matrix of the refugee was vulnerable, all vulnerable people.
Okay.
Okay, so this is our way was we could only give this vaccination, and in a day, two nursing assistants and all these things. The main issue was crowd management
Acha.
because there was naturally everyone who will control them because they think
Mm-hmm.
that the doctor has come means he'll give some medicine. Because there is a lot of problem because there was to first of all the demand
Mm-hmm.
because there was absolute shortage of everything.
Mm.
They had nothing. They are real beggars. Sarba. So it is very pathetic here. But anyhow, we used to start giving. Had those days disposable syringes were not there.
Acha, acha.
So we used to carry a lot of syringes.
Mm.
We have to be careful of not of using because in civil they use sometimes non-sterile. I mean, same needle for 2-3 people.
Right, right, right. You can get, I mean, these kind of.
Yeah. Now
infections.
that is a. So we had plenty of needles, and we constantly had a sterilizer, tabletop sterilizer, with us.
Mm.
So at one time, one syringe, 10 needles.
Okay.
To take 10 ml of vaccine in the syringe, start with first needle, give the injection, then take it out, discard that needle, put a new needle, give the next one. So we could, in a day, we could cover as much as 2 to 300.
Okay.
Then I'll tell you certain things. The other problem also is I told you about the limited resources.
Mm-hmm.
There's no medical infrastructure because they expected us for treatment for their skin condition, other conditions which are there. And at that time, if you remember,
Mm-hmm.
there was an epidemic of conjunctivitis.
Right, right. It was called Joy Bangla.
Joy Bangla. I also had and my whole team had. But we used to go, yeah.
Acha, acha.
But there, in the camp, about 80% minimum had Joy Bangla.
Okay.
So, and that is what was the insufficient. I mean, for that, what is the treatment? The treatment was prevention.
Prevention. Right.
You can't provide nutrition, so how can you provide prevention? So that is what I say.
Mm-hmm.
You can never have a precise military
Involvement in this.
medical campaign.
Right.
Because
right.
we know I will have so many casualties, so many shell dressing I should have so much of morphine. But there you don't know what is the need
Hmm.
you are going to meet. So that
Because
is what I
this was
say
all
that
of a sudden, right, sir? All
Ah.
of these happening. Yeah. And another
So-
thing, sir, I had a very important question. Like, as far as I heard that in West Bengal, especially the refugees who came, they suffered a lot from dehydration.
yeah, that's what I'm coming to that.
Acha, acha, acha.
This is the most interesting thing.
Acha, acha.
Since you have raised,
Mhm.
now you can do little bit of it to let the country know. You know, 50 years of Vijay Divas and all these things. No one has thinks of this problem which you yeah. I'll tell you. I was just coming to that.
Okay, please do, sir. Uh-huh.
So inadequate medical infrastructure, as I told you.
Mm-hmm.
Jai Bangla was one. The other one was cholera.
Cholera.
What is waterborne diseases? Most common is cholera, and cholera causes loose stool, massive dehydration, and it is with each motion and with the humid weather. Bengal in June, July, humid weather.
Mm-hmm.
So there is to be a lot of cases of death because of this condition. That is electrolyte imbalance.
Acha.
Okay. So at that time, during the month of June, July, August, That's the time when we started getting some foreign assistance. You see, foreign assistance which was coming because of everyone thought that plastic tents were given, tents and blanket and all these things, old clothes or like that. These are the things. But very few NGOs brought in medical assistance.
Okay.
Like you get now, you had Bhuj earthquake or any earthquake, the medical teams are mobilized. Here it was because camps were in penny pockets.
Right.
The Bongaon there is one, there will be one in Chakda, there will be one, wherever
Even Barashat में भी था sir.
Hmm?
Close to Calcutta, Barashat had one.
Barasat and this Bongaon.
Uh-huh.
So I've been to but I'll tell you, these things at that time they used the subdivisional hospitals.
SDO का. अच्छा.
So they had one or two doctors, and maximum they could keep 10 to 12 patients. So there was a lot of deaths which took place in the camps itself.
अच्छा.
That added to something more. You know, their cremation and disposal of dead.
Of the dead, right.
So, but anyhow, that is what we managed somehow or the other. But here the most remarkable thing is, lot of foreign help came in terms of medical assistance. Oxfam came out with latest year, that is the time jet injectors were there.
Jet injector. अच्छा.
It's like a painting. Now they have been no longer used.
Spray paint.
It is like you make people stand in a queue with their right arm or left arm facing the attendant. The attendant holds a gun,
अच्छा.
which is filled with 100 ml of vaccine. And then the one chap cleans the area with anti-sterile air. Then this chap gives the one burst of injector.
अच्छा.
So that used to without any prick. It is this nano. Those days they never used to call nano spray. Sharp spray of air used to enter subcutaneously. So that is the vaccination. Otherwise, the vaccination is generally done in intramuscular area.
अच्छा.
So anyhow, that we had to many times the inoculation and vaccination is some amount of mental fomentation that I have been vaccinated. Like for COVID, you are vaccinated but you got the disease. So there is lot of bureaucratic approach to mass immunization.
अच्छा.
If you have got a success rate of 50 so then that is how the vaccination, we used to give a report that we have vaccinated 300 people, but we do not care for the post vaccination, how many of them will get fever, what are the care will be taken. I mean, we all know if you take an injection, the body reacts.
Right.
Here what used to happen, the main thrust was in treating dehydration and cholera. Dehydration, you can give them water, normal drinking water at all the time. And Bengalis, Eastern, locally, we can withstand, our body can withstand lot of dehydration. We just don't get immediately like a Britisher will, like a Westerner or somebody who is not acclimatized to this kind of weather, that is humid weather. Okay. Now here the main thing which I want to tell you, when Oxfam was doing all these things, you see, at that time no American NGO came forward.
अच्छा.
Because they were not permitted.
Okay, I mean America was of course on the side of Pakistan, I guess.
So whatever it is, but lot of American reporters used to come. American small bodies used to come on their own. With lot of problem they could come, but they were not able to provide any kind of medical care.
Acha.
So Oxfam could get lot of material, but they didn't have a team.
Okay.
So they used the army. I mean, we used to go, get that and do this vaccination. So we could do lot of vaccination. Now come to the treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Conjunctivitis was just left alone all by itself.
Acha, acha.
We never took any statistics or anything. Like, everyone would have not, like if you have not done any people say in COVID, you suppose you had no what do you call it?
In COVID, like you just leave the person with.
Just leave it.
Yeah.
The nation will develop some kind of immunity.
Right, right.
Okay, so that is what was the principle earlier days.
Hmm.
But for cholera, this happened in Bongaon
Hmm.
subdivisional hospital. There is to be a young doctor, Dilip Mahalanobis.
Mohalanobis. Right, right, right. I've heard of him.
Mahalanobis. That is PC Mahalanobis,
Acha,
who
acha, acha.
started Statistical Institute.
No, 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 not that guy. Dilip Mohalanobis.
He is there. He is about 80 plus.
Acha, acha.
Must be about 80 plus.
Hmm.
He and one Dr. Chatterjee or somebody, four of them were there. What he did, they didn't have enough fluid to give.
Hmm.
So there's a problem of nursing when you are giving a intravenous drip.
Hmm.
So they said they will give plenty of water with electrolytes.
Acha.
So they created this oral rehydration fluid,
Okay.
which now everyone takes it, uses it. This is a fallout of 71 refugee camp in Bongaon,
ORS.
ORS.
Acha, acha, acha.
Okay.
Hmm.
Now, does not because ORS has been, but actually, if you read about this year, he has been honored everywhere.
Hmm.
His scientific paper has been published in Lancet and all. And he went and worked in Bangladesh
Acha, acha, acha. After.
as their advisor.
Okay, okay.
But in India, no one knows about him. Not even a Padma Shri or anything has been given to him. So this is what I said. The war gives like malaria. The malaria
Hmm.
was the cause of defeat of this thing. General Field Marshal Slim's victory
Right,
was
right.
to malaria, because we have prepared quinine practice, malaria drill. Japanese didn't have, so their strength was out because of malaria.
Malaria.
Whereas your one is that is why when a public health has to be incorporated
Hmm.
in off plan. That is why you see the medical O group of the commander always includes a doctor. The reason being water supply,
Hmm.
disposal of dead, care of the wounded.
Hmm.
All those things are always built in with the off plan.
Okay.
Now here one more thing I'll tell you. This I was working with Oxfam people. I had a photograph with them. I mean, I couldn't find it. It was published in one of the. What this the Oxfam people have been basically those who had come were Britishers.
Acha.
They published one thing with this Mahalanobis.
Hmm.
Statistically, it was proved that from a death rate of 30%, it came down to 3%. That is between June to October.
Due to this ORS, right, sir?
This ORS. And ORS, everyone could now at home. We have been taking ORS, but we didn't know exactly how much of sodium, how much of potassium, how much of citrate, and how much of sugar.
Hmm.
Sakkar, limbu pani, what is limbu pani? Citric acid,
Right.
not sodium chloride, little bit of potassium is not required. So that is how ORS become the standard for treatment of all these things. So this ORS became a standard treatment regime for any intestinal dehydration or general dehydration, in seasonal dehydrations, and this has been accepted by WHO.
And this jet injector, sir, you're talking about,
Hmm.
this jet injector, could you speak a bit about that, sir?
Jet injector is a small, portable machine, like a gun, handgun. It has a trigger which releases 1 ml with each shot.
It's short, okay.
Okay. Now this small, instead of barrel, the barrel was a vacuum place at the end where jet, part for sheaves
Okay,
through which water used to go at a very high speed.
okay.
At the high speed, it is to hit the skin and it is used to get absorbed subcutaneously.
Acha. But what was the chemical that you gave, sir, to this?
The chemical is the same. We used to immunization.
Acha.
TABC was given
TABC.
instead of a injection,
Mm-hmm.
hypodermic syringe. We used a jet injector.
Okay.
There you don't have to bother about needle, changing the needles at all.
Mm,
Because you give about 100 odd, then 1 year you can clean it
right.
like a dialysis machine, small portable thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the, but Oxfam prepared a paper that they used to call it as, which I read subsequently in Oxfam report. It is a testimony of 60. They wrote
Testimony of?
60.
Okay.
I don't know what is the background. This was, this paper through their Oxfam, USA and all these things. Senator Kennedy,
Mm-hmm.
Bob Edward Kennedy, highlighted that US has not done anything for a worldwide year. So then that by the time it was October, when 7th Fleet was coming, Government of India permitted some American assistance to come, which is to come through UN refugee.
Acha.
Directly we never got anything.
Mm-hmm.
So that is that is Oxfam. Subsequently, we did not take any. We didn't. Oxfam took all the credit, whereas AMC even. We didn't even get 5% credit. ठीक है, duty कर रहे हैं. That is so. But this the lasting legacy is the Mahalanobis ORS
Scheme, right, of making ORS.
and by the time, you see, every day there is 500 to 600 patients.
Acha.
I don't know how did they manage, and it was the Bongaon Subdivisional Hospital,
Mm-hmm.
which was about how many, about 5-6 kilometers from where we had camped our hospital, but there was no coordination as such. So that is how refugees, care of refugee, you can't look after a whole nation. It's a whole nation which had come displaced.
Yeah, 1/7 of the population. It was 7 crore at that time, East Pakistan. Total population 1 crore plus was here in the borders. Yeah.
And like no one will know. Now, of course, Bangladesh will hide everything. Yeah. So the certain truths will never come out.
Right.
Because Bangladesh doctors were not available with the camps and all.
Mm-hmm.
And this the sector in which we were there, you see, these Mukti Bahini, Charlie sector, Alpha sector, all these sectors,
Mm-hmm.
they were entirely involved in
Fighting.
military. Yeah.
Military casualty.
They had no role because they had, I think they must be having administrators for the camp, because by that time they had formed the Bangladesh government was there,
Right.
and
They are the youth camps, I guess. Youth camps for recruiting Mukti Bahini.
Mm-hmm. And then they are functioning, the foreign men, like, you see, there's another interesting thing I'll tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Before 7th Fleet came, government of India, I mean, they were in a hurry. The detachment of external affair at Calcutta, which was coordinated with BSF and the external affair ministry,
Right.
they had to get a letter signed by Tajuddin Ahmad, whoever was the prime minister,
Mm-hmm.
that Bangladesh territorial water goes up to this so and so.
Mm-hmm.
Because then, if 7th Fleet would have entered,
Mm-hmm.
they would have invited trouble for
Right.
entering somebody's territorial water.
Right.
Okay. And this has been mentioned by somebody who was there. I'll try to remember. I noted it down somewhere. So this was to be announced by Bangladesh radio.
Mm-hmm.
Radio Free, but
Shadin Bangla Betar. Right. Right.
not in Bangladesh here.
Mm-hmm.
But it so happened there was no coordination. All India Radio announced it first.
Acha. Acha. Acha.
There is this. I had read it in some article somewhere. I don't exactly remember now.
Now, sir, coming to another thing, that is the death in these refugee camps that happened due to malnutrition and this exhaustion that was there for traveling to India
Yeah,
from
yeah.
their homes. Could you give some information on that? You must have witnessed some of them, right, sir?
No, I generally we are not involved in a way. We used to go and attend the camp. I mean, at the main sector. But what I used to gather that whenever there used to be a death and all these things, they are cremated by the relations were there.
Mm-hmm.
Either they used to leave the body en route,
Mm-hmm.
exhausted and all. And you see, in those circumstances, one is worried about his own life.
Right, right.
But they were all cremation was done at the camp itself,
Okay.
under the year of
Civil
respective
administration.
collectors, sub-divisional magistrate and all.
Acha, acha.
And I don't think I had searched, you could not find anything. Only thing was what they say, 10 million came, 7.5 million went back.
Mm-hmm.
So assuming 1 million stayed back in somewhere in Bengal,
Right, right.
1.5 million, 10%, you see, like we take for battle casualty,
Mm-hmm.
killed in action 20%.
Right.
Okay, that 20% if you take, so the death must have been around 1.5, because the enemy was, you see, there's no bullet injury, but take it that every individual was from a vulnerable age group,
Mm.
not getting any water, not getting any nutrition,
Mm-hmm.
burning calories after calories, walking
Mm.
hundreds of miles. So the chances of survival is less than 50%.
50, less than 50%.
Yeah, whereas a soldier, 20% death is because of the devastating nature of the ammunition, arms, ammunition, weapons used.
Mm.
But here is against the nature.
Right.
If you in Siachen, if you have not taken precaution,
Mm-hmm.
or in Ladakh, same thing. There must have been a lot of deaths in 62, which you will never come to know, because they must have died of high altitude sickness. Because the high altitude was there, we were not prepared. In 71, in Kargil sector, there are a lot of, because of this non-availability of proper shoes, there are many frostbite cases. One CO lost his now, because there have been over 80 frostbite cases.
Okay, the CEO lost his job.
Yeah, naturally, because see, frostbite, like malaria, if in a person the sickness rate goes high, the CO is asking for trouble, because medical care health is not a it's a responsibility command. It's a command responsibility. A good commander always takes care
Mm.
of the public health.
Now, sir, another thing. Now, coming to you yourself, I would like to know a bit in brief, of course, your daily activities as captain in the Army Medical Corps, of how you went with your job in dealing with this refugee crisis, sir. If you could talk about that in a small
that
detail.
you see, I was not posted as a RMO at that time.
Acha, acha.
I was a reserve officer because the field hospital was not functioning.
This was which field hospital, sir? Again?
309 field hospital.
309. Okay.
So they were in Barakpur for a very long time. They didn't move with the division because the division had moved prior to this Bangladesh operation. 90 had gone for Naxalite duty, which was known as hotspot.
Right.
That is the time when I think Dharambira was governor. Governor's rule was there. I think 71. Siddharth Shankar. I don't remember exactly. So they used to camp in various like battalions used to say somebody has studied Titagarh paper, somebody is in Bata company, like that. They were all deployed, and for Naxalite operation they used to coordinate with the sub-divisional officers, sub-divisional district collector, like that.
Acha, acha.
So there used to be a doctor who used to, for whenever the battalion moves, they used to ask for a RMO. So once you go there as RMO, there is hardly any work. There is no nothing because they were deployed company wise. So I used to, as a captain, if I was with a Paltan, I used to go to the companies, spend time there, come back, and the routine is that you have nothing else to do other than, because you could go out anywhere if you are in. But later on, when in East, because I was, as a captain, I first started off at a non-functional field hospital at Ranchi.
Acha.
Okay, Ranchi had divisional headquarters. So there, since it was not here, if any, 42 brigade was at one location. So I used to send there, they used to call it a central MI room. So you stay there and all. So you see the sick report, and rest of the time you are all left to yourself. And there, from there, we came to Barakpur. When the whole division moved to Barakpur, divisional headquarters was at Barakpur. This field hospital was at Barakpur, but brigades were deployed.
Acha.
And there's again no work. So I was sent at that time. This Charlie sector had started.
Okay.
This sector at Barakpur. So they had camps at different places: Chakulia, Santipur, Plasi.
Lassi, right.
So I used to go and sort of just move around in that gadi which I had and coordinate with Charlie sector commander.
Brigadier Salik.
Was there.
Brigadier Salik, sir, or
Brigadier Arthur Salik was the
commander, right?
Was the commander, and I think Shankar Rai Chaudhary was BM.
Brigade Major, right. Major Shankar Rai Chaudhary, yeah.
So I mean, this is one of the sectors. They had the headquarters in Barakpur, but so from there, when I came, I was posted, sent to Krishnanagar.
Acha.
So from there, when I came back as a base hospital, this field hospital was to start functioning at Bongaon. So I was called back. By that time, too many doctors were there. The civil doctors they had joined, and I stayed there for 10-15 days. There is keeping the hospital ready to receive casualties. Then after that, I was posted out to Western Theatre. So that became a regular RMO's job. So you are with, I mean, of course, when I was with 14 Punjab, 2nd Sikhelai, and 19 MLI. The 3 battalions from 42 Brigade. 42 Brigade commander got MVC. He was in Ranchi. He had taken over General Gharaya.
Brigadier, he was brigadier, like Lieutenant General Gharaya.
Gharaya, he was a casualty also. I mean, I had not met him. I used to meet him when he was a brigade commander. I met him once or twice there. Then subsequently he is no more. Bihar regiment, just from Bihar regiment.
Acha, acha. And you, sir, took part in vaccinating these refugees, treating them with all the medical facilities needed, right, sir?
Yeah.
Sure. Then, of course, on the Western Front, that's a different
But
ball
this
game.
one there was no what you call refugees.
Acha, acha.
There- so that was a routine. I mean, I stayed with them entire 3 years plus as RMO. From 10 div I moved with them to 3 div. Then my other activity, which I must tell you, that military as military assistance,
Acha, acha.
medical assistance to civil population
Okay.
is something which not many of people know.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in Northern Command
Mm-hmm.
as the DDMS those days, now they call it as MG Med. At that time, there was a something which was started by one General Arjun Ray. He was a corps commander. He started Operation Sadbhavana.
Acha.
That is going into the interior, the medical team going to the interior and treating people in their villages. Now these days, medical cover for displaced persons, as you know, Gaza and all these things, all over this displacement of population is worldwide.
Right.
And care of displaced person has been worked out, formalized up to the last mile. Who will give what and which response? United Nations Refugees Commission and all this refugee rehabilitation. So now this kind of is no longer will be army responsibility. Army may be asked, like you are sending now to Burma
Right.
for the earthquake. That if your nation is prepared for out of area contingencies, then you don't need the army people to para brigade to be given that they are not going to do any operation as such. Okay, they are basically going to give healthcare, medicine, which anyone can give. But the only thing is that mutilation and that mayhem, what you see in earthquake and war is more or less similar.
Right. Right.
It needs a doctor with real courage to touch those victims.
Right.
This is what we call it as the military medicine. You may say that what is military medicine? कुछ नहीं है. No, military medicine it covers physiology. You see, like in Northern Command, I will give you an example. The troops are deployed from minus 42 degree to plus 42 degree.
Right.
Same time of the year. So you can imagine the commander's responsibility. Heat stroke to avalanche.
Right.
For that, he has to keep his medical forces ready, air evacuation, and so many things. So military medicine covers the logistics. Problem that may come out of logistics. And when the war is on, simple transfusion.
Right. Okay. That was a wonderful talk, sir. I'm trying to
Thank you.
Find out how these things work. And in 71, I think it was an initiation of how the armed forces could contribute in this medical aspect.
Yeah, because this was never, you
Never
see,
thought of. Yeah.
if you, I'll get hold of it, and the operation by para brigade, that
Tangail Paradrop.
No, 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 no. This is I am talking of Korean War.
Korean War,
Mac-
right. Our paratroopers went in, right?
They only against the wishes of Nehru.
Mm-hmm.
They had gone.
Mm-hmm.
In one day, they had 3 MVCs and seven Veer Chakras,
Mm-hmm.
and they were not. No one had given them any. They were considered as for their bravery in Jammu and Kashmir. We didn't want to sort of expose that we are there, but that Inchen, that
Mm-hmm.
city, they still remember 51 independent Paraguay and General Rangaraj. General Rangaraj, sorry, Colonel Rangaraj was the first Indian paratrooper. Being a doctor, IMS, he was an instructor in staff college.
Mm-hmm.
He would have gone very high, but he went home as a colonel because somebody told him something. He said, if affects if you think that I have got, it is more a matter of moral turpitude, I will not serve. He left and he became the head of the UN Refugee Commission.
Acha, acha.
So and he was one of those tactical fallouts from the medical profession, but professionally he was a great doctor also.
Mm-hmm.
So there has been, I'm trying to trace out how the doctors during the Second World War, yeah, if I can get hold of some, yeah, I'll try to make a small paper on that.
Wonderful, sir.
I mean, the top doctors
Top doctors of the Indian Armed Forces,
of the world,
of the world. Okay.
they're like the famous pathologists, American, the anatomist, who have
Mm-hmm.
written textbooks, which is now popular for 100 years now.
Right.
How they served as RMOs
Mm-hmm.
and how many of them got. You see, the maximum number of Victoria Cross and 2 bars is given to a New Zealand doctor.
Right. That's a wonderful initiative, sir, trying to highlight this part because medical part of the armed forces and also in the history of World War II is not very much known. And of course, trying to dig up about 71 from people like you who have served there, sir, it's also something that should come out and people should know.
The 71, you see, subsequently, the activities have been highlighted
Mm-hmm.
in JNK 92BH. You see, the role.
Mm-hmm.
But this all medical cover was reactive. We are never prepared.
Never prepared.
Like this Arjun Ray's effort,
Mm-hmm.
it could have been a SOP for the armed forces. हम गांव वालों को तो treat करते हैं. That is CO के पास एक रंग बोतल दे दिया है तो there's a mutual exchange
Right.
of goodwill
Mm-hmm.
that can be formalized. Like I used to always, I mean, of course, my army commander, everyone used to be okay with that, but medically, I said, sir, the bistar, your beds are vacant in Rajasthan and all. Why can't you give it to deserving people? So my boss used to tell me, medical boss, who will decide who is deserving? I said, medical condition. He said, tomorrow, like army hospital, you see, most of the time, 50% of the time, taken by the top specialists is towards VIPs.
Mm-hmm.
President, vice president, so and so, physiotherapy of Rajiv Gandhi. I mean, that is how it becomes a hodgepodge.
Mm.
Now you should, the underutilized bed, we should create only, like British Army has scrapped all specialists.
Acha.
They have got only with the fighting formation a RMO. For any other thing, the hospitals are nearby.
Mm-hmm. Right, sir.
Anyhow, that is
That is their part, yeah.
okay.
Okay then, sir. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for
Thank you very much,
speaking and
Prabhu.
bringing this out and highlighting this unknown part of 71. I mean, people know, but not many people know about this, to be honest.
This one, I mean, this oral rehydration,
Yeah,
the
so
meaning
what is part?
come
Yeah,
out of war. Now,
exactly.
71 war, this thing which has come out,
Hmm.
eh,
We are all using it. Yeah, yeah.
all using it.
And in the summer,
And
of
that,
course,
that
it's very
gentleman,
necessary.
uh, that gentleman, I don't know, I have not met him. I wish when I was in Calcutta, posted there in Command Hospital, I would have met him. But let's see.
Dilip Mohalanobis, right?
Hmm. And he had two, three doctors.
Hmm.
The paper was published in Lancet and all this thing. He has been honored by other countries,
But not India. That is something.
not in India, not even by the medical council. I mean, what you call
In
ICMR and all these things
in India.
in India, because that is Indian politics.
That's sad.